In this video, I will show you the main types of water tariff structures. You can think of these as policy options. Selecting different tariff structures is one way to improve water and sanitation services. The first important distinction among tariff structures is between a single-part tariff and a two-part tariff. A single-part tariff means that a customer's water bill is determined by just one calculation. There are two main possibilities for how this one calculation can be done. First, a customer's water bill can be determined by a fixed charge that is independent of how much water a customer has used. Second, a customer's water bill can instead be determined by the actual measured quantity of water that a customer has used. If a customer's water bill is calculated based on a single-part tariff that uses a fixed charge, there are several ways the fixed charge can be calculated. For example, the fixed charge could be the same for all households or for all firms of a specific type. Alternatively, the fixed charge could vary based on household size, or on the house's market value, or based on the diameter of the pipe connecting the network to the house. Fixed charges based on household size are hard to implement. This requires that the utility determine how many people live in a household, and the utility has to keep this information up to date in case the number of people changes over time. A more common approach is to charge a higher fixed charge for providing water services to properties with higher values. There are two rationales for this. First, households with higher value properties may use more water. Charging them more seems equitable and fair because it costs more to provide service to households that use more water. Second, higher fixed charges may seem affordable to households that live in properties with higher values. Note that to implement this approach, the water utility needs to know the value of properties in its service area. These data may be available from other local government authorities. They may or may not be updated over time. Another approach is to set different fixed charges depending on the diameter of the pipe that supplies the house. Houses with larger diameter connections would be assigned a higher fixed charge. This is because it is assumed that the larger diameter pipe would enable the household to use more water. It would be fair and equitable to charge households that use more water more than households that use less. Note that none of these approaches to setting a fixed charge provide an incentive to the customer to conserve water. The monthly water bill is the same regardless of how much water they actually use. Note also that when fixed charges determine a customer's bill, it is not necessary to meter the customer's actual water use. The water services provider will not know how much water customers are actually using. The second way a single-part tariff can determine a customer's water bill is to calculate the bill based on the volume of water used. Here there are three main options. The first is a uniform volumetric tariff. Here the customer is charged the same amount for each cubic meter she uses. So, if the price is 50 US cents per cubic meter and the customer uses 5 cubic meters, her water bill will be 5 times 50 cents or $2.50. Similarly, if she buys 10 cubic meters at the same unit price, her water bill will be $5. A uniform volumetric tariff will be very familiar to you. This is how most businesses price the goods and services they sell to you. The second option is a block tariff. Now the unit or volumetric charge is constant over a specified range of water use. Then, at a specified amount of water, this volumetric charge changes. There are two types of block tariffs, an increasing block and a decreasing block. With a decreasing block tariff structure, the volumetric price starts high and then falls as you use more water. So, say you use up to 10 cubic meters of water in a month. An example unit price would be $1 per cubic meter. But if your water usage exceeds 10 cubic meters per month, just the amount of water above 10 cubic meters is then billed at, say, 50 US cents per cubic meter. Imagine your household uses 12 cubic meters per month. Your monthly household water bill in this example would be $11 US. The first 10 cubic meters of water you used cost you $1 per cubic meter. This cost you $10 US for that month. The next 2 cubic meters you used was charged at 50 US cents per cubic meter. That cost you an additional $1. so your final monthly bill is $11. When you're shopping, stores will often offer you a discount if you agree to buy more of a certain product. A decreasing block tariff is like this. Your water utility is offering a discount to customers who use more water. The increasing block tariff, or IBT, is the reverse of the decreasing block tariff. With an increasing block tariff, the volumetric price starts low and then increases as you use more water. Say you've used any quantity of water up to 10 cubic meters a month. Let's take an example unit price of 50 US cents per cubic meter. If you then use more than 10 cubic meters per month, the amount of water used in excess of 10 cubic meters is then billed to you at $1 US per month. So in this example, say your household used 12 cubic meters per month. Your monthly water bill would be $7 US. Your first 10 cubic meters cost you 50 US cents per cubic meter. That part cost you $5 US. Your next 2 cubic meters was charged to you at $1 US per cubic meter. This extra usage cost you an additional $2 US per month, so your total is $7 US. A variation of the standard IBT is to charge the volumetric rate associated with the highest block into which your water use falls for the entire quantity of water used. So for the example we've just done, with this variation of the standard IBT, your water bill would be $12 US per month, 5 more than you just paid. This is because all 12 cubic meters would be billed to you at $1 US per cubic meter, leading to a total bill of $12 US per month. This tariff structure has been widely used by water utilities in Egypt. They call it a ratchet IBT because the water bill ratchets up as water use increases. This tariff structure creates a strong incentive for you to keep your water use below the break point between 2 blocks. The third option is an increasing linear tariff. In this case, the unit charge increases linearly as water use increases. This tariff can be a bit difficult to follow, but one way to think about it more clearly is to imagine it as an increasing block tariff with infinitely small blocks. Again, there are 2 variants of the increasing linear tariff. In the first case, the volumetric rate associated with the incremental, the last unit used, applies only to the last unit of water used, not all the previous units. In the second case, the volumetric rate associated with the last incremental unit used applies to all of the water used, that is, all the intramarginal units. This finishes our discussion of single-part tariffs. Now we turn to two-part tariffs. With a two-part tariff, your water bill is calculated using both a fixed charge and a volumetric charge based on your water use. The fixed charge can be either positive or negative. A negative fixed charge is effectively a rebate. It is a subtraction off your water bill. Your water bill is calculated by adding or subtracting the fixed charge, the first part, to the volumetric charge, the second part. The volumetric charge can be calculated using a fixed volumetric charge, a decreasing block tariff, an increasing block tariff, or an increasing linear tariff, the approaches we've just discussed. In the next several slides, I will show you some specific examples of two-part tariffs. These use different approaches to calculate the volumetric charge. Then I will show you graphically how the price per cubic meter in the water bill change as the quantity of water used by a household per month changes. In these figures, the price per cubic meter is shown on the vertical axis on the left. Imagine that your household's monthly water bill is shown on the vertical axis on the right. The quantity of water used by your household per month is on the horizontal axis. Here's an example of a two-part tariff with a uniform volumetric price and a positive fixed charge. Here, your positive fixed charge is $5 per month, and the uniform volumetric price is 50 US cents per cubic meter. This dark blue line shows that your uniform volumetric price of 50 US cents per cubic meter does not change as your household's monthly water use increases. The pink line shows that the volumetric component of this two-part tariff increases linearly as water use increases. Finally, the yellow line shows your total monthly water bill increasing linearly from a starting point of $5. That's the fixed charge that you have to pay regardless of the amount of water you actually use each month. In effect, the fixed charge shifts the pink line up by a fixed amount of $5 at every quantity of water use. The next two-part tariff we will examine is one with a positive fixed charge and an increasing block volumetric price. With this two-part tariff, you again have a positive fixed charge of $5 per month. However, the volumetric component of your tariff is different. For quantities up to the first 10 cubic meters per month, you're only charged 10 US cents per cubic meter. If your water use exceeds 10 cubic meters a month, then you're charged 50 cents per cubic meter for all the water use in excess of 10 cubic meters per month, up to 20 cubic meters per month. If your water use exceeds 20 cubic meters per month, then you will be charged $1 per cubic meter for all water used in excess of 20 cubic meters per month. This orange line shows that the volumetric price is 10 cents per cubic meter for the first 10 cubic meters. It then increases to 50 cents per cubic meter for the next 10 cubic meters. Finally, it increases to $1 per cubic meter for quantities above 20 cubic meters per month. The pink line shows that the volumetric component of the water bill increasing as the water use increases. The rate of increase in the water bill increases at the 2 points in the block structure where the volumetric rate shifts up. Finally, the yellow line shows the total monthly water bill increasing at an increasing rate from a starting point of $5. Again, this is the positive fixed charge. In effect, the fixed charge shifts the pink line up by a fixed amount of $5 at every quantity of water use. Next, I will show you a two-part tariff with a positive fixed charge and a decreasing block volumetric component. The two-part decreasing block tariff again has a positive fixed charge of $5 per month. For the volumetric component of the tariff, for quantities up to the first 10 cubic meters per month, you are charged $1 per cubic meter. If your water use exceeds 10 cubic meters per month, then you are charged 50 US cents per cubic meter for all water in excess of 10 cubic meters per month, up to 20 cubic meters per month. If your water use exceeds 20 cubic meters per month, then you are charged 10 cents per cubic meter for all water in excess of 20 cubic meters per month. In this figure, the orange line shows that the volumetric price is $1 per cubic meter for the first 10 cubic meters. It then decreases to 50 US cents per cubic meter for the next 10 cubic meters. Finally, it decreases to 10 US cents per cubic meter for quantities above 20 cubic meters per month. The pink line shows that the volumetric component of the water bill increasing as water use increases, but at a decreasing rate. The rate of increase drops at the 2 points in the block structure where the volumetric rate shifts down. Finally, the yellow line shows the total monthly water bill increasing at a decreasing rate from a starting point of $5, the fixed charge. Again, the fixed charge has the effect of shifting the pink line up by a fixed amount of $5 at every quantity of water use. Finally, I'll show you a two-part tariff with one variant of the increasing linear tariff. For this increasing linear tariff, the intramarginal units are billed at the price associated with their water use, as shown in the blue line in this figure. The pink line shows the monthly water bill rising non-linearly as water use increases. Finally, the yellow line shows the total monthly water bill increasing at a nonlinear rate from a starting point of $5. That's the fixed charge again. Here, once again, the fixed charge shifts the pink line up by a fixed amount of $5 at every quantity of water use. There are a number of variants in these basic tariff structures. The first is to provide a specified amount of water for free every month. This is sometimes called a free service allowance. This is really an example of an increasing block tariff where the volumetric rate in the first block is provided at no charge, for free. The second variant involves a minimum bill for the volumetric component of the tariff. At first glance, it might appear that a minimum bill is simply a fixed charge, but it works slightly differently. A minimum charge for the volumetric component of a two-part tariff refers to the amount of money that the volumetric component cannot fall below. Typically, a minimum charge is implemented to raise the water utilities revenues. A minimum bill for the volumetric component effectively penalizes you if you are a small water user. and you perhaps do not use the full quantity of water associated with a minimum bill. A third variant is seasonal water rates. Seasonal water rates are rarely used in low-income countries, but they should be. When there is a large seasonal peak in water use by the utility's customer base, seasonal prices can be used to reduce peak demand. The idea is to charge higher prices during peak use periods to reduce total water use. This approach has the important advantage of decreasing the utility's need for costly capital expansions. A fourth variant is to use a negative fixed charge or rebate instead of a positive fixed charge. Negative fixed charges have been common in telecommunications and mobile phone rate structures, but to date, as far as I'm aware, they have not been used in the water and sanitation sector, although they could be. Like seasonal pricing, negative fixed charges have important advantages in some circumstances. I'm next going to show you two possible tariff structures. I want you to think about which one you would prefer for the water utility in your city or community to use. Option 1 is a two-part tariff with a positive fixed charge and a low uniform volumetric price. Here, let's say the positive fixed charge is $10 per month and the uniform volumetric charge is 25 cents per cubic meter. Say your household uses 20 cubic meters per month. Your water bill would be $15 per month. That's $10 for the fixed charge and $5 for the volumetric charge for a total of $15. Option 2 is a two-part tariff with a negative fixed charge or rebate of -$5 per month. This amount is subtracted from the volumetric component of your water bill. Here the uniform volumetric charge is $1 per cubic meter. Let's say again your household uses 20 cubic meters per month. Your water bill would still be $15 per month. That's a negative fixed charge of $5 and $20 for the volumetric component, equaling $15. In both cases, your household uses 20 cubic meters per month and you pay a water bill of $15 per month. But option 2 with a negative fixed charge provides a much stronger price signal for you to conserve water. This is because each additional cubic meter raises your water bill by $1. In option 1, with a positive fixed charge, each additional cubic meter you use instead only increases your water bill by 25 cents. If you live in a water-scarce region and are concerned that households use water wisely, option 2 is a much more attractive tariff structure than option 1. The negative rebate allows you to address affordability concerns, and at the same time you send a volumetric price signal that water is scarce and should not be wasted. In this video, we have reviewed the main water tariff options. The challenge of designing water tariffs is to determine which of these different tariff structures is best at a given time and place. I like to think of best as meaning the best compromise between the four primary objectives: cost recovery, economic efficiency, social, and simplicity.